Hey, hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Avida Home Possible Ready to Move broadcast. A big hand for everyone, please, virtually. Go ahead. Today we are going to help those of you watching right now, all of you be empowered to take that next step forward in our lives. And my name, by the way, is Sarah Hernandez. I am going to be your host for today. I'm so excited because today we will be discussing with our panelists, you guys have an idea, all about making that life milestone of your own home possible. So exciting, right? And I know we have a lot of friends who are joining us on our Facebook Live right now. So hello to all of you. Thank you. Please stick around till the end and continue to share this with your friends. For those that you know who are going through the same things as well, this might be helpful to them. All right. So let me just say that we are so glad that you guys could all join us here today. And we're so glad that Avida Land gave us this opportunity to discuss all about taking those first steps to gaining our independence, right? One of the biggest milestones in every person's life really is investing in their own home, the home of their dreams, really, and to how to help you achieve this milestone. Well, today Avida is offering exclusive deals and perks, and this is for today only. So I'm suggesting that you guys really take advantage, make sure that you grab that chance, get as much as 280,000 pesos in savings. When you think about that number, it's really a huge chunk of savings for you, especially if you're investing in something this important. So 280,000 pesos in savings. Plus, this one I'm also excited about. Take home a premium home item to start your Avida living with the choice of maybe a microwave, if that's your jam, an air purifier, very useful these days, a smart TV, or if you've been wanting that Dyson Tower fan, then maybe this is your chance to finally own one. And you can get these when you reserve an Avida property. So you have a chance to bring those home as long as you reserve an Avida property. Now, if you want to know more about these perks, also these deals, all you have to do is scan the QR code on the chat box so that you may sign up, and one of Avida's property specialists, they will be the ones to assist you. They're always here to assist you. So today they will be doing that as well. And today we are making it all home possible with Avida. Big hand once again. Now, I know that everyone knows that making this type of decision is not just a big deal. It's really, like we said, a milestone, a huge moment in your life. Investing and also purchasing a property can be sometimes confusing, and it can also be quite daunting. It's a task that, for those who are doing it for the first time, it can overwhelm you completely, right? Especially in the circumstances that we find ourselves in right now. So today we've invited a panel of financial and also lifestyle experts. They'll be walking us through how to make the process as seamless as possible, because we all know that right here with Avida, it's all home possible. So let's begin with our roster of panelists. We're so grateful to them. We have with us President and CEO of Rampver Financials, Rex Mendoza is joining us. Today, we also have financial YouTuber and content creator Thea Sy Bautista, also known as the Millennial Tita. And finally, the creator behind the country's largest homemaking community on Facebook. Alam nyo na to. Home Buddies. We have Frances Cabatuando. She is going to be joining us here as well. So give them a big hand, please. Hi, guys!
Hello!
Hi!
Hello mga kapitbahay!
Ayan, mga kapatid.
Hi, Ma.
So thank you, Rex, Francis, Thea. Welcome. Thank you for being with us. And we're so excited to learn from all of you. Alam ko yung mga kapitbahay natin dyan, all of our viewers, they're just ready and they're raring to go. So we are so glad that you have given us the time and you're so generous to be with us. So thank you and welcome to the show. So before we get right into our discussion for today, can we do a little icebreaker lang para lang hindi tayo masyadong tense, di ba? Kasi Medyo formal yung setting natin ngayon. Ang ganda ng mga screens natin, ang ganda ng mga setup sa likod. We're just gonna play a little game, and I think this is going to be beneficial for everyone. So for our panelists, please join us, and also for everyone watching right now. Ayan, so we're going to do a little poll. It's a fun one, trust me. So my poll for you guys is, or my question for you is, if you could talk to your millennial self, syempre kahapon lang yun, or right now, yan, right Rex? Yes. So how would you rank these following life milestones in order of their importance? So what we're going to do is, 1 will be most important and 5 will be the least important. Let me give you the milestones. So we have owning a car, we have gaining money, we have getting married or starting a family, settling down, 4 having your own place, and 5 succeeding in your chosen field. So please go ahead and jumble them up and rate it according to what's important for you. So go ahead and do that. Our panelists are quite ready with their answers, but I am encouraging our guests today. Sagutin nyo rin yan, please, via our comment section. This also applies to you. So comment down below what your personal ranking are of these important milestones. And please also give us a brief explanation kung bakit. So we will be asking our panelists as well. And excited ako kasi ang ganda ng mga presentation nila for us today. So let's begin with Francis. Simulan natin kay Francis. Could you please give us your answer for this one? By the way, we want to say hello again sa ating mga kapitbahay. Francis, magkaya ka naman sa kanila.
Yeah, hello mga kapitbahay. Please comment down below if saan ba kayo galing, kung saan kayo nagiging nanonood, or are you with family, with your loved ones. Just comment it down below so we know that, magkakasama tayo dito even if we're from our homes.
Thank you, Francis. Okay, so alam ko yung mga kapitbahay natin dito ready na to answer. And maybe you could give us your answer first, Francis.
Okay. I-decode niya na lang. So, ito yung answers ko. So, let's start here. So, my first one is an angpao or money. It's gaining money. And then, I'll explain later why. So, the next one is recognition or like succeeding in your chosen field, whatever it is. The third one is a house, getting my own place. Next is car. And then, next is getting married or starting a family. So, a lot of people, I think, would say na parang, dapat, galingan mo muna mag-work or maging successful ka. Pero parang for me, parang I was raised to like, try to find as much income stream as you can, as early as you can. Right. So, which is why parang gaining money for me is the most, parang priority ko. Kasi sabi nila, when you're younger, parang yun yung mas marami kang energy. So you can have multiple streams of income if kaya mo mag-work ng day job tapos may side hustles ka kasi kaya mo pang mapuyat eh. Kasi di ba the older you get, parang mas maraming tulog na ata yung kailangan. So it's why for me, yun yung first. So, and then come second is the success or like in my chosen field is because I realized that, when you get into your first job or first few jobs, hindi mo pa rin sure saan ka mas masaya or yun ba talaga yung career path for you. So when you're young, it's okay to like make mistakes na, ay baka hindi ako for banking, ay baka hindi ako meant for business, baka yun pala yung goal mo, akala mo all this time gusto ko maging boss ko, but then at some point hindi, gusto ko pala may employer ako. So it's okay if, to me, it's the second step na maging successful ako. Pag, parang mas stable na rin yung finances that I can support myself. And then, of course, I think the next 3 are kind of self-explanatory na rin. Kaya kasi those are mga gastos na.
Mga investment. Yung last gastos na ngayon. Thank you, Francis. Thank you for sharing that with us. Nakikita natin, nag-set ka ng trend. May mga sumasagot na sa Facebook natin na via emoji din.
Ay, cute!
Ang galing. So thank you, Francis. Let's move now to Thea naman. Thea, what is your answer for this one? What is your ranking?
Not as bagets sa presentation ni Francis. Pero ito, number 1 ko is succeeding in my career, second, gaining money, and then having my own place, own car, tapos starting a family. So to explain lang, Yung first one ko, succeeding in my chosen field, siguro I'd like to think na I'm a goal-driven and persistent person. And of course, when I put in the hard work, gusto ko rin makita yung results. Kahit later
Mm-mm.
on, pero basta nandoon, basta meron.
Yes.
And then yung next one, gaining money. Siguro growing up, one of the things that I realized early on pa lang, na if you have money, you have options. And long term, syempre if you want to make decisions, ayaw mo na limited ka sa choices mo just because you're constrained financially. Yung third, having my own home, fortunately, meron na naman. And then, owning a car, tsaka yung getting married, sa totoo lang, hindi sila part ng priorities ko. So, kahit nga tanggalin na sila dito, 1 to 3 na lang.
Bala na.
Oo, bahala na. Come what
No.
may.
Thank you, Thea. Thank you for sharing that. Iba-iba naman talaga for everyone, right? So it really depends on you as a person, also things that you've gone through in your life, what things will be important to you eventually. Pero ang masasabi ko lang is pakita ulit ng list mo. Thea, please. Ang ganda naman ng sulat ni Thea. Napaka-perfect. Parang print out. Thank you, Thea.
Yung handwriting eh.
Hindi. Maganda naman. Thank you, Thea, for sharing that with us. And now we will move to Rex. Rex, yes, ito yung pinaka-high-tech natin na form of answer.
Nahalata, Sarah, kung sinong Jurassic dito eh. Ha? Ito talaga handwriting.
Pero proud ka lang sa writing mo, I think.
My choices are very different. It actually shows how talagang nagbago na yung theme, yung mga thematic natin over the generations. Kasi sa akin, number 1 ko yung marrying and having a family. As a milestone, it's very important to me. Kasi, again, I'll have to say that I'm talking from experience. There is a big importance with the choice of partner. Ako, walang halong biro sa lahat. You know, my partner has been instrumental in my happiness, my success. I practically say that, I chose the right person, very supportive, and that's the reason why we're a happy family. Siguro doon nagmumula lahat. So siguro nga I'm anchored, in relationships as a person. I think that's important. Yung number 2 ko is being good at your chosen field. I hope that you can, I understand, sabi ni Thea, syempre, hindi naman tayo masyadong sigurado kung anong gusto natin. We want to try it out. Yun din ang sinabi ni Francis. No? But if you can find where you're good at very early, please do. Kasi kung ano yung mabibigyan natin ng panahon, we're going to be an expert in that. Di ba? Yung sinasabi ni Malcolm Gladwell na 10,000 hours. If you devote 10,000 hours on anything, you're gonna be good at it. So if you choose a place where you're really going to be good at, where you have the talent and you have the platform of opportunity, you're gonna do well. O syempre, kasunod niyan yung pera. Ako naniniwala ako, the compensation that you have is always a direct function of your service to others. The value of your service to others will give you the money. Hindi mo kailangan habulin ng pera kung maganda ang value ng serbisyo mo. Tapos, syempre, yung my own place yung susunod. Kasi, importante nga sa akin that, there's a place where we experience everything. Ano nga naman ang katuturan ng pera kung hindi ka naman masaya, di ba? So, kailangan gamitin mo din yung money for the purpose for which you actually created it. Yung ano ba talaga yung goals behind having the money. And lastly, yung kotse kasi hindi na masyadong kailangan ngayon di ba? May Grab na, in fact, di ba? Parang we have all the options now. So, sa transport siguro, lalo na, magkakasubway na tayo, magkaka-MRT na tayo. Sana maging maging infrastructure ready na tayo as a country. So, in which case, not everyone needs a car.
Okay, so I love your answers, by the way. Thank you for sharing them with us. But you can see that there are no right or wrong answers here. As also for our guests, it really depends. Like I said, and like what Rex mentioned, it depends on your environment, your generation, also the things that were instilled in you while you were young, things that you've gone through. So depende na lang kung ano yung mag-work out for you. And I think it has a lot to do also with your timeline. I guess. So the timeline of how you want your life to pan out, doon mo rin siya i-base. Because again, we have our money making, our being prepared in the beginning so that we can afford the other things also eventually. So, and I think we're seeing the same theme via the answers on Facebook. Thank you so much to all of you for sharing them with us. It was very entertaining also yung mga iba-ibang styles natin ng pagpakita. So, meron tayong very digital, meron tayong medyo 2000s, and then meron tayong 1999. Thank you very much to Francis, Thea, and Rex. So we have more learnings from you guys. We're already learning a lot, and we just started the show. But I just want to remind everyone that, again, thank you to those who are answering. Thank you to our mga kapitbahay. Also reminding everyone that we have our Avida property specialists, our brokers. They're also simulcasting this via Avida Facebook Live all over the Philippines and around the globe. Maraming salamat. Thank you for sharing the great information that we are going to be sharing here today. And these property brokers of ours, they're always ready to assist property seekers anytime and anywhere. So please take advantage of that. So at this point, I think we're finally ready to really get into it, begin our discussion, and find out how we can make your dreams of home ownership home possible. Ayan. So firstly, we will need to catch ourselves up with some relevant information regarding the process of real estate or real estate ownership. So let's just update ourselves with this one. Of course, it is a big ticket purchase for a reason. And that's why we'd like to start off by asking our panelists these questions. And let's begin with the one question na talagang playing in our heads right now. Is it sensible to invest in real estate right now? And I would like to start off with asking Rex this question. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Sarah. I think it really makes a lot of sense for people who are ready, if they have investable funds, if they have good cash flow. It really makes a lot of sense. And what we're experiencing right now, the pandemic, even highlights that. No? Number one, syempre, alam natin, medyo mataas ang inflation ngayon. So, in inflation, nawawala ng value ang pera. Yung purchasing power mo, bababa yan. So, it's always better to have an investment in a hard asset. An asset that actually grows in value over time. So, real estate is one of the best instruments for that. Pangalawa, siguro very important din na maisip ng marami na this is a way to have access to two sources of income. No? If a person is not even ready to go into independent life yet, pwede muna niyang parentahan. So, he will or she will have appreciation of the property itself. I think that's an increasing capital value. The other is rental income. So habang hindi niya ginagamit, pwede niyang paupahan sa iba. So habang nagtatrabaho siya, is earning his income, meron pa siyang ibang sources of income. And that's something that we have to do. Over time, we have to have multiple sources of income to become more stable. And lastly, for me, why it really makes a lot of sense right now, kasi maraming deals ngayon eh. In fact, you just said, Sarah, di ba, Avida has a lot of deals available just today. And that's very important kasi alam nyo, yung mga deals na yan, nandyan lang yan because we are in a pandemic. Soon as this pandemic gets to simmer down, all of these developers will take those out of the table. Eh sayang naman, you know, the propensity, the capability to own at this time without putting that much money up front, yung pwede nyong bayaran later on with less value money, again, because of inflation. Can you imagine having an asset na tumataas yung value, tas yung bayad mo later on with cheaper money because over time, money gets cheaper. So, real estate is one of the most sensible investment instruments today.
Also, would you like to add on what makes it a good investment for the younger professionals, those who are kind of starting out right now? What would you think you could tell them to encourage them to make a sensible investment in owning a home right now?
Ayan, maganda yan. You know, that's a very good question, Sarah, on this, no? Because, again, I forgot, you know, you have to highlight it for the young professional. Kasi the young professional at times, you know, they earn money. And sometimes, because wala silang pinaglalaanan, sometimes they spend all of that. And it's almost like they earn more money and they spend more. So they live their lifestyle almost at pace or even at times higher than their income. Pero pag meron kang hinuhulugan na real estate, what happens? It's almost like a programmed investment. It's almost like discipline programmed into your lifestyle because you're setting aside money. You know, my parents call that nagpupundar ka eh. You know, yung something over a span of like 10 years, 15 years, you have things to show. You know, I challenge a lot of young professionals. Imagine it, from the very first time you earned money to today, magkano ng perang dumaan sa kamay mo? And then I even ask them, so nasa na? What have you to show for that money? Minsan nga niloloko ko, nasa na yung pera? Nagpe-paranormal activity na. Mga bagay na hindi mo maipaliwanag na pangyayari sa pera mo. Nagmumulto eh, nawawala eh. So maganda yung may hinuhulugan ka because later on, you will have that asset to match. And lastly and most importantly, you have to have options. Kasi di ba, bata ka pa. Kung gusto mo, pwede mong tirahan. O kung hindi, pwedeng you're still with your parents, but pinarerentahan mo na. So may income ka naman. Real estate is the only investment that does that to you. Eh. Create options for earnings while it gives you choices for the future.
Thank you so much. Marami atang na tinatamaan dito right now sa mga sinabi ni parang may na-feel ako inside sa mga sinabi ni Rex. But you know, it's true. That is a great challenge for our young professionals because like what Thea mentioned earlier, when you're younger, you have all the time, you have all the energy. So you also, that can translate to money as well. Pero yun nga, it's a matter of where does it go. And with this, you can actually have something to show for it eventually. Now, my next question is, what should you look for? Kunyari, ready na ako. I do have investable money. I do have I'm prepared for it. What should I be looking for when I want to purchase the real estate? And I'd like to ask for Rex and also Thea maybe to weigh in on this one. Go ahead. Let's begin with Rex.
Okay, first of all, syempre, you look for something that matches your budget. And this goes both ways, no?
Yes.
If you're kind of tight, don't get into something that you won't be able to afford. Kasi baka mamaya maipit ka, mawala pa yan. So, dapat, it really matches your budgets and cash flow. But it can go the other way. If you have much money naman, o malaki ang budget mo, think about having a place that's just right for you. Because you can have extra money for something else, or maybe beautifying it later, or maybe buying another unit that you can rent out. So habang may tinitirhan kang isa, meron ka namang source of income sa kabila. So that's very important. Number 2, sabi nga nila, location. Malapit sa lahat, in the center of infrastructure, very important for living experience. In many countries, in real estate, itong totoo, many people will say, location, location, location. In the Philippines, I don't agree. Sa Pilipinas, alam mo, dapat location, developer, developer. Because in the Philippines, because we're a third world country, a developer can make a location right by putting the infrastructure themselves, not waiting for government to do that. Think about an example. Nuvali. About 10 years ago, di ba? Sino mag-iisip na magiging talagang magnet for people yung Nuvali na yan? Tubuhan lang yan eh. Di ba? But because Avida and all the other brands of Ayala committed to the place, spending billions of money in the area. O ngayon, 10 years later, ano iniisip natin? It's one of the best places. Yeah. It has become a good location. So very important na yung developer commitment is within the equation as well. I mentioned living standards, and because if living standards are good, the value of the property goes up. So over time, kailangan isipin din natin, ano yung potential growth of value over time. And that's going to be dictated by this. And again, it all loops back to a developer and their track record. Maraming developer, maganda ang property sa umpisa, and then before you know it, nagmumura na sila. Kasi iniiwan na eh. Di ba? There are great developers with great brands who take responsibility for all their developments. Kahit tapos na, hindi yan iniiwan because the branding is so important. And because of that branding, the value increases. Yan yung mga considerations for me, Sarah.
So accountability also is very important. So that's why you make sure na may track record so that your investment will you're more secure about your investment. Thank you very much, Rex, for sharing that. I know Thea would like to weigh in on this as well because she just recently also purchased my recent purchase siya or recent investment siya. Go ahead, Thea. What were
Yes,
your top
so
3 considerations?
recently kumuha ako ng property from Avida. It's in Alviera. So Sir Rex mentioned Nuvali sa Laguna. And now Avida is developing north of Metro Manila naman. Parang Nuvali, community talaga siya, and it's called Alviera. Marami ng mga villages doon, and I got a property sa isa sa mga villages doon just last October. So to add lang to Sir Rex's inputs, actually nagulat ako na ang thinking ko dati sobrang important ang location, pero nagkaroon ako ng bagong perspective na if there's a good developer, kaya niyang i-develop yung location. So ang consideration ko kasi for location right now, like when I got my property, yung first property, kung hindi ko siya tirahan long term, is it likely ba na mapa-rent out ko siya or mabenta ko siya para hindi siya mabigat sa cash flows ko? Second factor is the market development. Anong background ko kasi economics so medyo familiar ako sa mga GDP, ano yung trends ng growth, regional pa minsan. And usually, pag mas mataas yung growth ng isang area, mas may economic activity and demand for residential and commercial spaces would also be higher. So it would push prices up. Actually, isa sa mga nagko-cause ng appreciation ng real estate properties is market development, 'di ba? Meron bang itatayo na road or bridge near the property that would improve its accessibility? So yon. And of course, developer, just to add to what Sir Rex mentioned earlier, hindi kasi porket sinabi na it's a good time to buy properties now, ibig sabihin lahat ng properties okay na.
Yeah.
Diba? Not all properties are created equal. And you know what sets a good developer apart is its after sales support. Ayaw mo na pagkatapos ng transaction, kalimutan na, wala nang maintenance, wala nang upkeep. So look for a reputable developer na okay yung after sales support and maayos mine-maintain yung property kasi you'll be living there or ipaparent out mo siya, and ayaw mo naman na in 10 years time hindi mo na matirahan ng maayos kasi sira-sira na yung structure.
So same also accountability pa rin siya because you're looking for someone that you can trust, developer na alam mong maaalagaan din talaga yung investment mo, and your investment will not just, maintain itself, but it can possibly appreciate with everything that Thea mentioned also. So that's where you know that you spent good money, and it's a lot of money as well. So you would want it to be a good investment. Thank you, Thea. We're going to move on to our next question now. And this one I'd like to hear naman from Francis with this one, and also Rex as well after. From a financial standpoint, do you have advice? What kind of advice can you give someone who is currently saving up for this kind of milestone purchase? So someone who is getting ready, is not yet quite there, but is in the journey to make that purchase. Anong mabibigay niyo na advice sa kanila, Francis?
Parang yung sinabi ni Sir Rex yun kanina, yung sabi niya, parang if you commit to it, ma-force ka, parang force saving siya, pero ito parang pagpupundar nga. So kung kunyari, kanina sobrang natatamaan talaga ako, Sir Rex, sa sinasabi mo parang daming perang dumaan sa kamay mo, pero nasan siya ngayon, diba? So if you're thinking, am I ready to invest in a property? Do I have the money for it? If you've been working for a few years, I would say you are ready. And if it's in the back of your head na gusto mo, ready ka na talaga. You just have to push yourself and then just, do it Parang pag nandyan ka na, hindi ka na rin makakalusot pa kasi marami ng, hahabulin ka na ng interest, di ba? Even yung kunyari, kunyari, nag-invest ka, tapos, di ba, nakakaya din kunyari sa parents mo, di ba, na, magaling ka lang sa simula. So, syempre, may commitment din na ayaw mo din i-let down yung people around you. And it's always just a question of how bad do you want it? Kasi pag sinabi mo sa sarili mo na gusto mo talaga, parang yun yung magiging motivation mo na, dahil gusto ko, maaabot ko yan. Kahit however I get there, I will get there. And yung pag-purchase naman ng property, limited time lang naman yan Sabihin natin, I don't know, or unti-untiin mo, di ba? Yung parang may mga payment terms silang sinasabi na, kunyari, for 5 years, ito yung babayaran mo. And then for the next yung susunod na babayaran mo, yung lump sum mo, pwede mo naman siya extend to 10 years or 15, I don't know. So, parang take it as into phases. Pero ang masasabi ko lang, kaya niya, ready na kayo.
If there's a will, there's a way. Ganon yan. Ano? Thank you, Francis. And Rex, maybe you could also give us your advice para sa mga nagpe-prepare para maggumawa ng ganito kalaking investment.
I agree totally with Frances, and everything she has said. So kailangan siguro dahil this is going to be one of the biggest purchases of your life. It's very important. If it's real estate, it's a major big ticket item. Ang tawag namin dyan sa financials, big ticket investment. And in so doing, kailangan may research. We have to plan out the property purchase. Look at your options, see where the best choices are, look at what materials they're gonna use. Sabi nga ni Thea, the environment as well. Kasi syempre, when the environment progresses and develops, syempre kasama rin yung value ng property bibilin mo. So, we will have to come up with all of those studies. Hindi pwedeng na-inlove ka lang sa isang property, yun na. Compare it because again, the comparisons are going to be very important on top of design, on top of materials. Pag-usapan natin yung living standard. Yung living experience kasi will have a direct effect on the future value of your property. As I say that, we move to number 2. Kailangan din naman, pag-execute. Kasi a lot of people plan tapos di naman nila tinutuloy, tapos before you know it, nagastos na yung pera. So sayang din, di ba? So move to execute and be a little brave. A lot of people will not, I'll share my experience. Bumili ako ng real estate, akala ko parang hirap na hirap ako dun sa hulog ko. Pero alam nyo, in about 3 years, 4 years, you get used to it, di ba? And then on the 5th year, 6th year, hindi mo na nga iniinde dahil parang kayang-kaya na siya. So don't be too scared about getting into the deal. Fear is born out of insecurity. Pero pag meron kang magandang cash flow, bakit hindi? So make sure that you really move to execute and create momentum. Malaking bagay ito pag sinet mo na yung goal for yourself and you share it with people, you share it with friends, you share it with family na, by a few months magkakaroon na ako ng ganyan. O siyempre may konting internal pressure. But the internal pressure is good pressure. This is not stress. Kasi stress is something bad. When you're pressuring yourself to do good, it's called eustress. So kailangan nyo nang i-push mong sarili mo para mapilitan kang gumawa ng tama.
So this really ties in with what Francis mentioned earlier, diba? So you just create the opportunity for yourself, and once it's there, go lang nang go, because eventually it's going to result in something amazing for you, something that, like you said, something that you can show for with the money that you earned in your earlier years. Thank you very much to everyone. I'm already loving what we're learning so far, and we will learn even more all throughout our discussion. But I do have a special question coming up next. This time we have a video question for Rex, or Sir Rex. So let's please check this one out.
Hi, I have a question for Sir Rex Mendoza. I'm currently an OFW based in Dubai, and I want to purchase a ready for occupancy property. How do I go about it? Is it a good idea to lease it out? Thank you.
Thank you very much to Jello. What a great question. So we have some of us end up working abroad as well. And we have family members who are working abroad. So I'm sure meron sa kanilang mga nagtatanong if they want to purchase an RFO property, how do they do it? And is it a good idea to lease it out? Rex, go ahead.
Believe ako kay Jello. That's an inspiring question coming from someone who has the capability to do it. And my answer to him is yes. While you're in Dubai, dapat nagpupundar ka na dito sa Pilipinas because you have to go home. We all agree that you won't be staying there forever. So you have to put money in a place where it can work for you. So as of now, there are about, I think 12 projects of Avida scattered all over the metropolis and even in the major urban centers of the country. Check them out. And as you are in Dubai, and since RFO na sila, you can now lease it. Now, the lease rates, let me give an idea, can range from about 18 to 25,000 for a studio and as high as 45,000 for a 2-bedroom. So can you imagine, if you're in Dubai and you're able to purchase one, and in about another 5 years, another, Pag uwi mo sa Pilipinas and hang up your gloves as an OFW, guess what? You'll have maybe 2-bedroom units or 3 studio units. So what does that mean? 75,000 to 90,000 a month kikitain mo dun sa rental. So you don't have to go back to Dubai. You can now stay home, raise a family or be with family because you can now have money working for you. And I want all our OFWs to heed that particular situation. Dapat ilagay nila yung sa sarili nila na they will have to be in a position to create assets in the country while they are abroad. Because you know what happens if they don't do that? Babalik sila ng babalik abroad for the income. Until the time na siguro hindi na nila kaya, siguro may edad na sila, or they fail a medical, sayang naman. Siguro dapat, it's a different story. You're in Dubai, set for time. 10 years na lang ako dito, 15 years na lang ako dito. Jello looks very young. Kung 15 years lang siya doon, 10 years lang siya doon, nakakauwi na siya dito, tapos may paupahan na siya, isn't that the best situation where you can now really get home and be home na hindi ka na mapipilitan because mag-abroad ka pa dahil kulang ka ng kinikita. So, again, 3 phases of life: man at work, which is where Jello is, man and money at work, which he has to implement para magkaroon ng money at work, para pwede siyang magpahinga, i-enjoy niya pamilya niya, at make money work for him.
Thank you very much. That's such great points and a great question as well. So it's really making your sacrifice worthwhile. And then eventually you get to the point where you make your money work for you. Thank you. Wow. So I hope Jello is happy with his answer. And for those who are joining us, please also share this information with your family, your friends who are working abroad as well. Magandang point din to that they can use. So now that we have a solid grasp on the concept, it's time for us to discuss how we can put them into practice naman this time and how we can help you find the right place to grow and also chase your dreams. All right, so we have a bunch of questions this time, and this time I want to ask, should I buy a property? So this is tanong ng taong bayan. Should I buy a property to rent it out or to live in it? Similar to the question earlier, but let's get into even more details for this one. Thea, maybe you can take us through this question first.
So for this question, ito point of view ko, there's no universal answer to this because a lot of factors come into play when you get a property. How does acquiring a property align with your goals ba? Ano ba yung goal mo for the property? Gusto mo ba sana na may titirahan ka? Do you want another source of income? As mentioned by Sir Rex earlier, do you want money to work for you? Or gusto mo ba may property ka na pwedeng pamana sa mga anak mo? So each of these categories, iba't iba din yung considerations. Like if you plan to live there, consider may family ka ba? Or magpa-family ka. If that's the case, then you might want to consider a bigger space. Okay? If you plan to relocate later on in the province, like that's my plan. I'm just sharing my personal plan. Baka pwede na right now sa Metro Manila while you're still working here, you're renting muna, and then habang nagre-rent ka dito, ini-invest mo na sa future home mo. So in terms of leasing out the property, check how much your investment would cost you and yung ongoing na market rate for a similar property within the area. Kasi that way, you'd have an idea dun sa profitability ng investment mo. When you lease out the property kasi, it's like you're also doing business eh. So if you're gonna make a decision, it's best na you base it on the numbers.
Thank you very much for answering that one. And then, so ito talaga, di ba? We have our different things that we have to consider for this one. Moving on naman tayo sa journey of, actually looking at these spaces, communicating with the agents. Thea, I know, di ba, you just wrapped up, like you mentioned earlier, yung pag-purchase mo ng pagbili ng unit mo sa Alviera. Maybe you can also talk to us about yung different factors or different things that you had to go through in this process. Paki-share naman.
Okay, so yung dalawang properties na kinuha ko, pareho silang pre-selling. Ibig sabihin nun, wala pang nakatayong structure, hindi pa nade-develop yung village. But I got I got these properties from good developers. So yun yung isa sa mga important considerations ko as mentioned earlier. But what's nice about the digital age now is super convenient. Super convenient mag-browse through the properties. Like ako, I usually search online. Tapos kung meron akong mga magustuhan na properties, that's the time na I look for an agent who could assist me. And actually, last year nga na-mention ko, noong October, kumuha ako ng property from Avida. That's the second one. Yung property na yon 2019 ko pa siya tinitingnan. Alam ko siya kasi familiar ako sa Nuvali. So sabi ko, parang ito yung next na Nuvali. Gusto kong pumili. But during that time, ng 2019, hindi pa ako prepared. Financially, hindi ko pa nasiset yung mind ko na kukuha ako ng property. But a year later, yung agent ko reached out to me to update me sa development dun sa area. And nung day na nag-message siya, kumuha na ako ng property. So, ang galing nga ngayon kasi alam nyo ba na meron ng mga 3D walkthrough ng mga properties? Yung, it would give you a feel of how the space would look like kahit na hindi pa siya natayo. Diba? Pre-selling kasi yung mga kinukuha kong properties. And it's also more convenient kasi pwede mo na siyang gawin at the comfort of your home. Unlike before na kailangan mo pa mag-travel papunta sa mga sample, anong tawag doon? Sample units. So yun. It's actually a very seamless process, at least yung experience ko with my agent from Avida last October.
So I guess this also kind of tackles yung new normal way of purchasing a property, also viewing a property. It's definitely evolved at mas madali na talaga. And katulad ng shinare ni Thea, her agent was the one who updated her on new developments. So, your agents, if you can connect with one, they can actually be very instrumental din talaga in you finding the perfect place for you and also getting a good bargain or a good price for your investment. So thank you for sharing that, Thea. Rex or Francis, would you guys like to add in sa discussion na to when you go through the process of finding your space? What do you guys think about also ano yung feeling nyo when you communicate, or what are the things that you need to take into consideration pagkausap nyo yung mga agents ninyo? Anyone?
Meron akong habit before, pre-pandemic. Mall culture tayo. And sa malls, alam mo, may mga stalls yung mga agents. Diba? I would go there, tapos bibigyan nila ako ng mga pamphlet. And then sa pamphlet, diba, may mga floor plan. Ako, hobby ko talaga yun. Magdo-drawing ako. As in, dito yung bed. Ini-imagine ko na eh. Hindi pa ako bumibili. Wala pa akong pera. Pero ini-imagine ko na. Parang nice to kasi, floor to ceiling yung window niya sa drawing. Tatanungin ko, totoo ba to? Or sample lang, parang creative license lang ba to? Yan, tapos sobrang as in, nare-realize ko na parang every developer, every property, pwedeng magkaka-same sila ng sukat, say 17 square, 20 square. Pero pagdating dun sa cut, mare-realize mo, parang mas maganda to kasi square siya. Alam mo yun, yung cut din eh. Hindi lang siya yung floor size, kumbaga. So, there are many things to consider, and yun nga, like sabi ni Thea, you could buy it for pre-selling. And then, syempre, when you buy it, you have 5 years, 3 years before you live in it. And then, yung mga things na yun, you can make kulit lang your agent na kamusta na yung progress, tapos ano nang itsura, di ba? Parang, these are agents who, if you find a good agent, sila yung parang isusupport ka nila na parang if excited ka, dapat mas excited sila magbalita sa'yo na malapit mo nang makuha yung property mo, tingnan mo ito na yung development sa area niyo, di ba? Even without you actually getting it. So when you find that agent, don't let him go. Wow!
Parang love life lang
may perfect match ka lang din talaga. It's true. I think it's true though. Kasi yun nga, they really, iba rin yung meron kayong understanding or meron kayong MU, may mutual understanding kayo of what you want out of that relationship as well, right? Because it is a big investment. And it's it's great what you shared with us. I think si Francis mentioned yung, by the way, don't we miss seeing yung mga stalls or model units where we can actually just get a view. But getting a pamphlet, drawing your ideal setup for that home, that also kind of helps you envision it better. So thank you for sharing that with us. Before I ask Rex the question, maybe I actually have an even better question for you. this one I'd like you to answer. How did you fit this investment and also this purchase into your own life plan? So I'll ask Rex first and then maybe Thea after. Go ahead.
Ako kasi, Sarah, I usually invest in something always with the understanding that it forms part of my portfolio. So I have an asset allocation plan where I have emergency funds, where I have investments in, bonds, mutual funds, stocks. Then I have investments in real estate and then businesses. And then syempre, kasama na dyan lagi, syempre insurance and other assets now. Like, nauso yung cryptocurrency and all that. So, when I buy an asset like that, I fit it into it. So, ito tatahi ko din dun sa question kanina. In discussions with your agent, you always have to tell them what your goals are. Para saan ba talaga tong property na to? I agree with Thea. You tell them what you want, you tell them what your requirements are, and they will have to give you a solution that fits. Hindi pwedeng sila yung magpe-peddle ng produkto nila sa'yo. No, you will have to dictate what you're looking for, what your priorities are, and that's the only time a product will really emanate and become the option, di ba? Pero gusto ko lang i-excite si Thea, talagang good choice yung Alviera. Do you know that that's a triangle? Clark, Subic, and the Freeport area of Bataan. Tapos, lima ang industrial parks na hinahanda na dyan. Logistics, and I know all of those companies. So, talagang good choice yung ginawa mo.
I have been hearing a lot of great things about that area as well, and they're saying that is where you should be investing next. So congrats, Thea, and to our viewers who are also looking into that. Well, here's the nudge. Ninudge na namin kayo to the right direction. Thank you, Rex, and thank you for answering that. Thea, maybe you would want to add to this one. How did you fit that? Maybe we can talk about that investment in particular. How did you fit that particular investment and purchase into your own life plan?
I'd have to agree kay Sir Rex lang muna na ang gandang investment ng Alviera. Kasi nung kinuha ko siya noong October, 6 months after nag-appreciate na by 22% yung property value. Di ba? Pero ang nilalabas ko pa lang doon, partial pa lang ng down payment. So, ang taas ng ROI sa current cash outlay ko. Now, in terms of paano siya nag-fit sa life plan ko, well, dalawa kasi yung properties ko. No? Yung una, dati kasi sa Ortigas ako nag-work, kumuha ako ng property around Capitolio area. Ngayon, wala na ako sa company ko. Pero, ito turn over pa lang siya. I was thinking, it's in a good location. So, kung hindi ko siya tirahan long-term, I could lease it out or sell it.
Yes.
Kasi ang long-term plan ko talaga is to live in Pampanga. Yun talaga, magre-relocate ako sa province. And Alviera fits perfectly kasi ang gusto ko sana kung lilipat ako ng, di ba, lilipat ka na ng location, dadalhin mo lahat with you, you'd want a good community eh. You'd want like everything there na kakailanganin mo. Hospital, school, groceries, malls, leisure parks, na hindi lang siya yung parang sinalpak na bahay doon and then paglabas ko wala na akong magawa. So big consideration sa akin. And Alviera has all those, may master plan talaga. Yun yung isa sa mga pinaka-selling point sa akin na when I looked at the image, yung development plan nung Alviera, sabi ko, okay, this is going to be like a city. Di ba? May development plan talaga sa kanya. Hindi siya yung, okay, bumili ka dyan ng property and then hanap ka na lang ng mall na malayo sa'yo. Or huwag ka na lang mag-mall. Diyan ka muna sa probinsya, sa side. Ayun. So, in terms of finances naman, may adjustments. I'd have to be honest. May adjustment talaga. But it wasn't a stressful adjustment. In fact, I became more diligent pa nga. Kasi may big commitment ka na. Sabi nga kanina, di ba, ni Sir Rex and ni Francis, pag sinimulan mo na, paninindigan mo yan. So siguro, alam mo, siguro kung hindi ako kumuha ng properties na yon, yung pera na yon, nalustay ko lang kung saan bumili ako ng damit, ng bag, nag-travel. But dahil pinasok ko sila sa real estate, I was able to grow my portfolio and at the same time, I was able to have a better relationship with money. Kasi mas disciplined na.
So yun pala yun. Okay, so please take notes for our guests. And by the way, mabalik lang ako dun sa there's a right agent for you. Meron mga tao sa ating comment section sinasabi, that's me, I'm the one. I'm the one for you. Okay, I have one more question. Slide into my DM. So if you're the agent for me. No, I have one question for all three of you, and we'll make it quick lang, brief lang. So one mistake and maybe a brief description as to why you believe that's a mistake. Please give me one mistake that you made in the period of your younger life, maybe your 20s to 30s, regarding property and investment that you want others to be wary of. So let's start with, sige, Thea, let's start with you. Isa
think
lang
this is
and
a
brief description.
I think this is a common mistake among first-time buyers na hindi natin natatanong lahat ng costs associated with buying a property. Usually, property cost, turnover fees, and bank financing, loan amortization lang yung naiisip. But there are other costs associated to it. So if you're gonna buy a property, make sure na full transparency and you got all the bases covered para walang gulatan later on na may iba pa pala akong babayaran dito, di ba? So prepared ka.
So kumbaga fine print, make sure alam mo kung ano yung
Yes.
mga small details din para hindi ka mabibigla eventually. Thank you. How about Francis?
Not getting parking. Sure ako sa sagot ko. It's a big mistake that I didn't get parking, and only because, alam mo yun, pre-selling kasi when we got this property. So at that time, when I was just starting my job, yung pagbayad nga ng condo is already parang a commitment to me. So I thought, ba't ang mahal ng parking? Eh nung time na yun, wala naman akong car, or di ko naman iniisip na ever gugustuhin ko magka-car. Pero I realized that, parking is also real estate and it's also limited. So kapag nabenta na lahat ng parking na yan, wala nang parking for you and they can jack up the price. So now that I'm interested in getting a parking, wala na akong makahanap na parking. And if ever, sobrang taas na talaga ng price niya. So it's really a regret. And if you can, parang try to consider it. Kasi yun, ang hirap talaga maghanap ng parking, especially yung Metro Manila.
So based on experience, alam na natin. Thank you, Francis, for sharing that. And finally, Rex, any thing from your young adult, your 20s to 30s na investment that you feel was a mistake?
Nadala ko sa isang makintab at napakagandang drawing sa brochure. Real estate companies do that to you. At times, ang ganda sa picture, ang ganda sa rendering, pero pagdating ng totoong delivery, iba na yung itsura. And in my particular case, hindi nga na-deliver. Because at that time, I didn't really know that, choice of a developer is really very important because some stick to their commitments, some don't. We're still a third world country, so we cannot help it. We cannot rely on government to follow through on like purchases and the way, the deliveries on the other side would go. So kailangan po talaga trusted and reliable developer and brand.
Thank you very much. And thank you for sharing your mistakes, and hopefully we will learn from them. Maraming salamat. We have another question, another video question actually, and this time I still address to all three of you. So let's all please sit back and check this one out.
Hi, I'm Ryan and I'm planning to purchase my first property soon, and I want to get your opinion about it. Is it better to buy a house and lot property or a condominium unit? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian, for that question. Okay, so ang ganda rin ang question niya, and I think a lot of people can relate to this one. What is better for you to invest in right now? Which one? Is it the house and lot property or condominium units? You can check out your screen right now to see the different developments, but let's hear from our experts. Let's begin with Thea. Go ahead.
So for this one, again, going back, paano ba yung lifestyle mo and how would this property fit in the picture, no? If you have a big family, baka masikipan ka na sa condo. If you're alone, baka okay lang yung condo. What's your financial capacity? In the same area kasi hindi pare-pareho yung presyohan ng property niyan. Usually, house and lots tend to be priced higher than condos, significantly higher sa same na location. That's why if you notice sa mga central business districts, halos puro condo na lahat para ma-fully utilize yung vertical space. In terms of house and lot, upkeep is also more expensive. pagdating naman sa condominium, you enjoy amenities like gym or pool. So consider ko ano yung lifestyle mo. I won't be able to tell you na better yung house and lot or better yung condominium kasi it would depend on how you will use the property.
Thank you very much, Thea. How about Francis? Maybe you could also share your answer with us.
Agree with Thea. It depends if will you be living alone for a longer time or are you with family or are you planning to start a family na soon? Because siguro concrete example, if mag-isa ka and say meron kang work, paano na yung mga budol delivery mo? Sino magtatanggap nun kung house and lot ka tapos ikaw lang mag-isa? What if yung mga kapitbahay mo ayaw nila tanggapin, di ba? If you live in a condo, there's a concierge, pwede mong pakiusapan siguro yung guard, di ba? At least, I mean, it just feels like you are not alone. Especially if you are really alone, say yung family mo or all abroad, it would be nice if you live in a condo. But of course, if you have your support system and you have people talaga with you, mas maganda pa rin house and lot because, you know, yung design ng space mo, you can actually customize it as how you want it. Kasi syempre pag condo, medyo templated din siya and ang ma-change mo lang is interior. Pero with house and lot, you can be creative about it. Pero yun lang, yung maintenance din, like yun nga sinasabi ko, sa condo, hindi mo iisipin yung damo na tumutubo. Sa house and lot, may mga damong tutubo sa garden. So, those are just, you know, pros and cons. You just have to, there's no one answer to it. So, you really have to ask yourself, ano ba yung mga kailangan i-consider and you have to consider all details. Medyo matrabaho, but it's for you, it's for your home. So, go lang.
So maraming self-reflection talaga ang kailangan mong gawin to figure out kung ano yung bagay sa'yo. Pero magandang point yun yung budol deliveries mo. Pag hindi, pagka ikaw lang nakatira sa bahay at walang mag-receive, problema ngayon kasi kailangan ready ka. Thank you, Francis. I think good pointer din yun for those who are watching. And finally, yes, Sir Rex, go ahead.
Sarah, for me, completely, totally agree with Francis and Thea, no? So, iibahin ko siguro yung sagot ko another angle. Kasi ngayon, maraming nagsasabi, kailangan talaga, no? Goals-based. So, wala akong talagang masasabi. Perfect yung answers nila. So, yung angle ko ngayon ganito. Maraming nagsasabi, dahil nga may pandemic, dapat mas maganda house and lot ka na. Dapat malayo ka sa city. You know, always remember, all of this crisis, these pandemics, they will come to pass. Okay, so kailangan balikan mo pa rin yung ultimate objective mo. Are you gonna be working in the city? Would you want to really live far? And, you know, when things go back, I'm not saying things will go back to the old normal, pero the new normal will still make you travel if you have to work in an area that's within the metropolis, no? So, sabi ko kanina, ang number one asset ng bata is time eh. So, very important na hindi mo ginagastos yung time mo for useless things like that. So, kailangan isipin pa rin natin how it fits. Hindi temporary, hindi because may pandemic, ito yung choice mo. But will it be the right choice if you get stuck with it given that times will change after the pandemic? So, kailangan isipin po natin yun. Huwag tayong padalos-dalos. We will always have to consider the real end in mind beyond this pandemic.
So you really have to consider long-term situation pa rin talaga and which one will work best for you. So thank you very much to all three of you. Great different perspectives, and I think everyone's been able to capture, you know, what best is going to work for them. So hopefully we'll learn even more in just a little bit. But before, because we did ask everyone to also send in their questions via the chat box, diba? So please go ahead and do that. But before we answer those questions, briefly, let's just shift away naman muna from the technical talk. So we've been talking a lot about the serious side to owning a home. Ngayon, let's go naman to the medyo fun part of it, of adulting, of life planning. Medyo mas holistic view naman tayo ngayon because it's important to know that everyone does this at their own pace. And also, again, we're reminding everyone, everyone's circumstances, they're different. So it's really, it depends on your timeline. Okay, so that, again, for our circumstances that are different, let's get ready for this next part. Ayan. So, ngayon na dito tayo sa medyo creative part naman. With that being said, let's ask this question. When we are preparing to make a purchase like this one, when we're preparing to, given the certain situation we're in right now, we've been locked in our homes for quite a while. There's been a lot of yearning for independence for a lot of us, right? So for those who are dealing with yung anxieties of wanting to be independent, if you're in that phase right now, ano yung share natin na ways for them to cope with this? So how do you think someone should deal with the anxiety of that wanting to be independent? And I'd like to start this off for Francis. Maybe you could help us with this one. What can you share?
Yung anxiety to be independent, iba-iba yung reason ng mga tao.
Yes.
Sometimes you are anxious and you really want to move out, diba? Kasi iniisip natin na, I don't know, maybe your living situation currently is nababurden na namin na micromanage ka nila. Minsan iisip mo, late 20s na ako, bakit hindi ko pa rin magawa yung mga gusto kong gawin? One thing is, when you move out, I want to tell this to Filipinos, especially we are family-oriented and we are medyo conservative. Moving out is not an escape from your family. And the reason why I say that is, kahit na mag-move out ka, your family will be your family. So best talaga is, you fix your relationship with your family, and moving out will never solve that. But what can moving out help with, mga family relationships din, kung nandun yung source of anxiety? And it's really knowing what is the purpose of you moving out. Is it kasi sa bahay masyadong maingay? Ganun ba yun? So then when you move out, you know that you are looking for a place that you will make it your sanctuary na pag-uwi ka, tahimik. So at least clear ka what your reason is for moving out. And when you find that, then minsan, di ba, the answer might not be moving out. Pero meron talaga minsan, marirealize mo, hindi, sure ako na gusto ko talaga mag-move out because I have these steps that I wanna do when I finally move out. It could also be like you just wanting your personal space, you want to learn more things, like yung mga bagay na dati hindi pinapagawa sa'yo, tapos gusto mo pala talaga siyang gawin, like magluto, gusto mo ikaw yung in charge of the menu every day, di ba? Those little things, and that can help with the drive to like want to move out. Mawawala yung anxiety and mafe-feel mo na, and they're ready na ako, or teka, hindi pala muna. So that's one thing. Looking naman at home buddies, I mean, syempre may mga kapitbahay tayo, hello mga kapitbahay who are watching. I see a lot of home buddies posting, 24 lang may bahay na. 20 lang nagsimula na mag-invest. And minsan, di ba, parang nababasa natin yon. Tapos tayo, bakit, kunyari, 28 na ako, bakit wala pa akong bahay? Tapos na-anxious tayo na bakit sila kaya nila. And what I want to say to everyone is, it's not the age. Wala yan sa age. We have our own timelines. So, wag ka ma-anxious pag nakikita mo na yung mas bata sa'yo or yung peer mo, they're able to invest. Because, iba yun yung priorities mo siguro, iba rin yung pinagdadaanan mo. What is nice to think about para mawala yung anxiety is to know if you really want it, and if you want it, diba, how bad do you want it? Because if you say na gustong-gusto ko talaga, then yung anxiety mawawala siya, magiging what's my next step? What will I do? Parang yun na yung mafo-focus doon yung isip mo. So, mawala na yung anxiety. So, yun lang yung tips ko. It really depends on person to person. But, yun lang. Don't mind what other people say. Just do you.
Ang ganda nun. So, and it's also, I love what you mentioned also, that, you should not allow yourself to be pressured by the situation of others kasi nga kanya-kanya naman tong adventure, diba? So it really depends on where you're at and what you're doing about it. So thank you for sharing that with us. Now, I want to go into, since na-mention mo na rin ang home buddies. No, home buddies, a lot of people, one of the reason I think that it's so popular is because lalo na ngayon na Filipinos have learned to really love a beautiful aesthetic. So design, we've learned to really like things, or we've always liked things that are pleasing to the eyes, but now we're really learning to apply it. So I'd like to ask you, the mother and queen of home buddies, Frances, what are your principles in planning out and also in designing a home? Please share them with us.
I always say na you have to design with intention. By designing with intention, it means you always have to ask why. Everything should have a meaning. why that coffee machine? Why that cortina there? Why is the lamp pa ganyan? Bakit ito yung kulay? Bakit ito yung size, di ba? When you have the answers or when you ask why, then everything that you put into your house, hindi ka may inistingnan siya, hindi ka magkakamali. Kasi alam mo na may purpose siya and hindi siya sayang even if you spend on it. Kasi alam mo na it means something. And also, it matters when, say you live in Metro Manila and the spaces are really small. And tayo, sabihin natin, living in a condo, wag na dyan kasi ang liit niyan. But then, to me, spaces are never too small when you design with intention. Kasi it means every square meter will mean something. Sometimes then, di ba, with the concept of minimalism, sabi nila, yung, I don't know, other people would say na sayang naman sa space, di ba? Pag wala kang nilagay sa pader na yan, dapat punuin mo kasi yan nga lang yung real estate na meron ka, ba't hindi mo lagyan? But then if you put intention na, hindi, I intended for that space to be empty, then it means hindi siya sayang of space. And it matters because, you know, it's for, pag busy ka sa work, gusto mo tumingin sa pader na empty, di ba? So may meaning siya. So yun lang, design with intention, and spaces are never too small when you design with intention.
Ang ganda nun, intention. So please always have intention when you create your space, what is going to be best for you. I have one more question for you, Frances. So, syempre, ang dami nating nakikitang mga home life hacks, mga ganyan sa community ng Home Buddies. What were the best design practices na maybe you were able to see or you were able to learn from your community and Home Buddies? Please share it with us.
Okay, so before I dive into the specifics of what the kapitbahays have shared, sa Home Buddies, nagkaroon ng trend, yung team kahoy, team puti. So, kung paano nangyari yan, kasi di ba, Home Buddies started with me. Ako, when I think of a design, syempre hindi naman ako design, wala naman akong design background. So, if I go to a store, tapos sasabihin ko, Scandinavian design, or Nordic, or maximalist, in my head, may processing na nangyayari. Parang, ano yung Scandinavian? Di ba? Parang, pero yung principle ko dyan is wag papalit-palit. Meaning, just have a color palette. So, if yung color palette mo is team puti, so lahat, when you go to the store, hindi ka na pupunta dun sa mga blacks, dun ka na diretso sa puti. Kasi alam mo that that's what you are looking for. Or if team kahoy ka, you go directly with the mga kahoy design, di ba? So, it helps you decorate your home in a cohesive way and hindi ka magkakamali and walang magka-clash because it's from the same color family. So yun yung tip ko to make it simple. But yung mga kapitbahay natin, mas magaling sila sa mambudol. One of the trends that they do is very rich yung DIY culture and Home Buddies do. So isa sa pinakasikat talaga is if you buy that big mirror, hindi yan bababa ng 5,000. Sabihin mo, mas mataas pa talaga kasi a mirror is, you know, a big mirror is expensive, hard to transport. Pero nakahanap sila ng hack, which is yung mga buy one, take one mirrors. They stick it together, tapos nakakabuo sila ng isang malaking mirror, tapos parang French window style pa siya. So nakakatuwa lang kasi if you take that, parang yung principle behind that, it really means like, you look on, say, Pinterest or whatever site for inspiration, but you don't have to buy exactly what you see, but you get the intent na kunyari, gusto mo ng malaking mirror, then hahanap ka ng way how to achieve that effect in a cheaper way. So, yun yung isa sa tip sa Home Buddies na sobrang, as in, favorite ko yun.
Nakita ko ngayon, very popular yun for a while. Tapos, kanya-kanyang creative take on it. May mga gumagawa ng parang borders for it and all that. So, ang ganda rin talaga ng mga matututunan natin sa community ng Home Buddies. Before we continue to the next question, I want to see what Sir Rex or what Rex can also share with us. Ano nga ba yung principles, your principles also when you are planning out and you are trying to create your space or your home?
Sa akin naman dalawa, no? Number one is functional. So kailangan lang talagang yung lahat ng nandyan, kailangan nandyan, no? But the more important thing is number two. Number two is more of the vibe it gives me, the vibe it gives my family.
Yeah.
Lalong-lalo na ngayon, it became very, very relevant, no? Dito sa mga ECQ. Can you just imagine getting stuck inside your living environment for like several months, di ba? So kung hindi nag-i-imbibe ng inspiration or motivation ng isang lugar for you, then it becomes very depressing. You'll practically invite a lot of negative emotions within you. So kailangan nagde-design tayo in such a way na yan, medyo it's inspirational, is aspirational, parang mapunta ka lang sa isang sulok, parang that's your own quiet little nook where you want to be creative. Pihit ka lang ng konti, you're in another place, as Francis said, na medyo iba na yung magiging emotion mo. So I guess it's for me, it's more the emotion it brings in me. And I guess for my family, that's always the case. Now, syempre, hindi naman sa pag-ano, kahit papano, nakapagpundar na ako, I probably have, the wherewithal, no, to yung kakayahan para bilhin yung kahit anong gusto kong ilagay dyan. Pero hindi eh. Sometimes when a house becomes so cluttered because ang daming mga nakalagay na bagay na parang nagiging distraction lang, the impact on you, emotion-wise, is also going to be very different. So I agree. Sometimes the cheap, the real reasonably priced functions can actually be more important because of what it brings you and what it takes to your heart.
So yung effect talaga yung on you is what's more important. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. I have one more question before we move on to our audience questions, and this one is quite important actually. So when you're going through something like this, a milestone in your life, sometimes things don't go according to plan, right? So what mentality do you adopt when things don't go to plan? Do you have a mantra, specific philosophy that you follow when it comes to overcoming these obstacles? So maybe we can hear from Thea first. Thea?
Siguro one of the things I learned in my 30 years of experience, titang-tita na yung age, is that not everything is within our control. Diba? Ako, planner ako eh. And dati na-frustrate ako na, ano ba to? Ang tagal kong pinagplanuhan, hindi umaayon sa gusto ko. So some of our plans don't materialize. Some things na hindi natin pinlan happen. But I guess with all the responsibilities that come with being an adult, I need to choose my battles wisely. Hindi pwedeng lahat kailangan bigyan ko ng atensyon. So I ask myself, is this worth my time? Would it matter in a few years from now? Or is it just a small hiccup along the way? If it's not significant and dead man na lang, it's not worth, stressing about. So yun, para happier life din. Mas simple din yung mga concerns natin in life.
Okay, so kung ano na lang talaga yung what's worth it, diba? What's worth your while, yun lang yung i-deal natin. Thank you very much. How about Francis? Francis, could you also add to this?
So, siguro i-relate ko na lang with home ownership, diba? What if things don't go to plan and hindi ako makabayad? Kunyari, ganun. Iniisip ko na lang is, what's the worst that can happen? So, what's the worst that can happen? One, I will have to sell my vacuum cleaner, my coffee machine. Hindi yun tayo hanggang maubos. Second is, hindi ako mag-aircon for 1 year. Hindi ko alam. Ganun, diba? And then it could go worse, diba? Talagang, what if hindi mo na talaga kailangan? So, paano yun? Iisip ko, well, siguro naman love ako ng parents ko. Baka mapagalit. Kasabunin nila ako na yan. Diyan ko lang, kaka-start mo lang. Tapos ngayon, babalik ka dito, di ba? Pero, if you think about it, those are things na, is that the worst that can happen? Di naman ako mamatay, di ata ako magkakasakit, or I don't know. So, those are things na parang I'm willing to take the risk. So, once you see, kasi, what's the worst that can happen to you, mas magiging matapang ka to like, jump on it. Kaya, ayun, ito, nandito ako ngayon in a house na, yun, dinaan ko lang sa tapang or lakas ng loob.
Katas ng katapangan. So yun lang pala yun, diba? No, but I like what you're saying also kasi sometimes if you just let go of your ego, diba? Let go of your ego and just find a solution for it. Kayang-kaya mo pa rin naman eh. So like what Francis said, what's the worst that can happen to you? Mapapahiya ka or maybe, you'll you don't impress people as much or maybe you'll have to cut down on certain luxuries in life. But at the end of the day, the commitment that you made, you can find a way to still commit to see it through. Thank you, Francis. And finally, yes.
If you make it, kasi iba din yung joy, diba? I
Correct.
mean, we're looking at the negatives, pero yung payoff naman nun, diba? If you compare it na yung the worst that can happen is mapahiya ka. Pero, what if you actually make it to the end of your
Yes.
last payment of your condo, di ba? It's not even magiging proud sila sa'yo, but it's more of, may bahay ako, di ba? So, that's a bigger payoff, I guess, than mapahiya ka or something.
Completely. So talagang, the end result is going to be definitely worth it. So thank you, Francis. Rex, maybe you can also give us a mantra of yours or philosophy that we can maybe borrow from you eventually.
Ako naman, Sarah, at a very early age, I really took it upon myself to control self-dialogue. Sabi nga nila, every challenge, every difficulty, failure or pain, no, it really depends on what you ask yourself. So it's really the questions you will ask yourself that will determine your responses. So tamang-tama, every time pag may mangyayaring ganyan, laging ang tanong mo, what can I learn from this? So kung ano man yon, anumang dagok ng buhay yan, what can I learn from this? And then siguro, the other thing is, if you're responding to a situation, maybe the other question is what I'm doing going to help me or hurt me? The problem with a lot of people is that, they got into some sort of pain, suffering, and failure, and then they make it worse. Diba? So you really have to ask yourself, is what I'm doing helping me or hurting me? Because in the end, it empowers you. It takes you to a level where you control the decision-making process. So yung internal dialogue, the questions you ask, always watch out. Kasi you will always answer that question. For example, yung iba bakit sa akin nangyari to? Bakit ganon? Bakit laging ako? So pag ganon ang tanong mo, anong sagot nun? Diba? So it's not going to be empowering. So kailangan i-set up mo so that you're in a position to answer the right questions.
Ang ganda nun. Thank you. I think that can be very useful for a lot of us. So tama nga naman, it can be very frustrating to ask those questions to yourself because it leaves you with nothing. So ask yourself the right questions so that you can also figure out how to go ahead or how to move on from there. Thank you. All right. So I think with the discussion so far, we've learned a whole lot, but we want to learn even more this time with the use of the questions from our guests or our audience today. So let's try to ask these questions from our viewers for our panel of guests. Let's begin with this one from Luis Olarte. This one is from Luis, isang kapitbahay natin. She asks, how to decide which location is best for a house investment. So I want peace, I want quiet of provincial life, and it's more affordable, but at the same time, hassle and very tiring to take long commutes for work. So any one of you who would like to take this question, go ahead. Anyone? Francis, let's start with you siguro since kapitbahay natin si Luis.
Yeah, I think kung hindi ako nag-attend ng webinar na to, hindi ko alam yung sagot. Pero nakinig ako kanina kay Direct Thea, and it's really looking for the developer who can develop the area. So, hindi mo na dapat problemahin na when you buy the property, hassle and very tiring na long commutes to work. What if the property that you buy in the province actually has job opportunities for you na better than what you can get in Manila, diba? So, if you look far ahead like that, especially now then pandemic, 'di ba? Uso na din yung work from home. So yung telecommute, 'di ba? You work from home, you Zoom from home. So ngayon na nga yung better parang time to go out of Manila if I would say it, 'di ba? Na ganun. So but yeah, I mean, natutunan ko lang, kinopya ko lang kay Sir Rex tsaka kay
Sige. So since nakuha nga naman natin yung answers from Sir Rex and Thea. Thea, baka you can also add to this. Since ikaw, you plan to relocate eventually to Pampanga, which is kind of quite far from the metro, maybe you can answer this question as well.
Siguro if leaving your current company is not a short-term option, baka you can assess kung in the next few years ba sustained yung work from home. Kasi yun sa previous employer ko, no, never talaga nag-work from home every day. OT sa office din, hindi kami nagdadala ng work sa bahay. But, since this shift, itong new normal, na-realize sa employers na kaya naman pala eh. I have an ex-office mate na sa Tacloban nagtatrabaho. Metro Manila yung trabaho niya. So, yun. I guess for this one, you just need to consider long-term options as well. Kasi nga, ang pagbili naman ng property is long-term eh. Baka it's just a small sacrifice short-term wise, pero long-term, it would be better for you. Baka mamaya, nag-employed ka dito, pero plan mo palang mag-business later on. So, getting a property in the province would be a lot cheaper and better sa strategies mo in the future. And also, check the trade-off. So, kunyari, nakabili ako ng property na mas mura sa probinsya, ang ganda ng hangin, nakakahinga ako ng maayos. Pero worth it ba siya sa 3 oras na commute, one way pa lang? And for me, very, very important ang time. Sobrang valuable ng time sa akin. So baka sa akin, it's yun. So yeah, check nyo na lang kung ano yung way nyo, yung options nyo. Like, what's the worst and best for each option. And the best person to decide is actually you rin eh. Depende sa lifestyle mo.
So ultimately, ikaw rin talaga makakasagot ng tanong na yan. What will be best for you and your lifestyle and your future as well. Thank you, Thea. Sir Rex, baka gusto mo rin mag-add dito kasi, di ba, kanina na-mention mo na home or real estate investment would be one of your first, which one was it? Was it fourth for you earlier? So in this case, how do you decide kung anong location and kung gusto natin mag-relocate to medyo malayo sa metro? Anong pwede nating maging decision in this investment?
For me, Sarah, I'll go for what sila Francis and sila Thea said. Eventually, you decide eh. So, it's your objectives on the table, goals mo. Kung ano man yung priorities at prerogatives mo. Pero ako, ipapasa ko yung trabaho. Ito yung priorities ko, ito yung goals ko, okay? Haharapin ko ngayon yung PS, yung property specialist. O sige nga, bigay mo sa akin lahat ng option dyan. Diba? So para may pagpipilian ka. Kaya tayo mag-i-interact with the seller, with the property specialist. Not just because they have the products, but they also have the experience and the advice. Para kung may sinabi kang objective, alam nila, magandang area ito para sa inyo, ma'am. No? And then pag may iniba kang goal or objective, meron na naman silang pwede ipakita sa'yo. Because I guess what's important here is that property specialists have the entire system of what's available and where it is. And what I like about Avida din kasi, hindi naman yan gumagawa ng mga one-off eh. What do I mean by that? Maybe some developers give you a product na pwede siyang maging solo flight dun sa area na yon. And yun nga, yun ang worry ko. Yung sinabi ni Thea, paglabas mo ng bahay mo, wala na yung parang, kumbaga, blank canvas lahat. Si Avida hindi ganun eh. So every time may gagawin si Avida, it's a whole community immediately. And it's going to be very near what you need, schools, hospitals, and maybe even job opportunities. So instead of, I don't know exactly those areas distinctly, but you have to ask them. Now, I go back to my kanina, yung sinasabi ko nga, emergency funds, stocks, ganyan. While real estate, pang-apat kong sinabi, Sarah, but in terms of proportion, it's a big proportion to my portfolio, ha? Kasi parang pyramid yan eh. Palaki ng palaki. Kasi I feel that as an investment, siya yung masyadong walang fluctuation. Again, it's a matter of age. Siyempre, malayo-layo na ako kay Francis at kay Thea. So siguro, at this age, dapat ang ini-investan ko na yung hindi na masyadong malikot. Kasi di ba, baka mamaya may mangyari pa ngayon, abay baka ma-wipe out ako. So I deal with investments that will also be less volatile so that I am going to be secure and stable. Especially at my age, that's very important.
Great answer. Thank you very much, Sir Rex, for sharing that with us. And sana na-pick up natin lahat ng different points from the different answers also. Now, I will continue on with the question kasi earlier, Sir Rex, you mentioned when we were talking about leasing out a property and all that. Meron naman tayong question now from Alvin Arthur C, who's joining us via comment section. Sabi niya, but the monthly amortization from the bank would be about 40 to 70,000 per month. So if you rent out, let's say, your studio unit, ito yung naging example kanina, at 25K, lugi pa rin kami, hindi po ba? That's his question. Sir Rex, go ahead.
I guess where we're looking at yung net cash flow, no? So again, this is a totally different thing in investments. Parang, totoo yun. If you're just going to be looking at the cash flow, there would be a time when your bank amortization is higher than what you're earning from it. Pero hindi ba kailangan baliktarin natin din yung perspective doon? Na ang hinuhulugan mo 15,000 lang. Kasi dapat 40,000 yung inuhulog mo, pero may kinikita kang 25. So 15,000 lang ang ilalagay mo, and in the next 10 to 15 years, sa'yo na yung property. So magkano lang yung naging investment mo? See, so in effect, para kang may katulong dun sa pagbabaya. Dapat ganun yung mindset. Hindi naman pwedeng at the get-go, positive ka kaagad eh. I think that's what we need to look at when we deal with investment. Siyempre, talagang tulak sa umpisa. I mean, it's a sacrifice. But in the end, the important thing is this, the asset is yours. It is an investment. Whereas dun sa ibang gastos natin, walang kapalit na asset eh, di ba? Nawala lang yung pera. So akala mo wala kang pinaglalaanan, pero magkaiba dahil yung isa may naipundar ka, yung isa wala. So parang ganun. Kailangan tingnan natin yung net effect dun sa overall asset base. Maybe cash flow, negative. Pero investment-wise, siguradong positive yun dahil may value ka dun sa property.
Thank you very much. And I hope that answers your question, Alvin, from the comment section. One more panelist can answer this one. Actually, maybe we can hear from Thea for this one. So, kung anong feelings mo about yun, di ba? Pagka 50 to 7 or 40 to 70K per month, di ba? Kasi also you have recent investments as well. So 40 to 70K per month yung nilalabas mo, pero rent mo is about 25K. Oo. Lugi pa
Actually,
ba daw?
I'm currently preparing the Excel file for that. I'm comparing ano ba yung better option in terms of present value. Bumili ka ng property or mag-rent ka na lang. Kasi in the first 10 years or siguro duration ng loan mo, talagang mas mahal. Mas mahal upfront yung sacrifice mo, no? But long term, hindi mo na kailangan magbayad ng amortization eh. Yung operating expenses na lang na association dues versus pag nag-rent ka, subject to up to 7% na lease escalation year on year. So I think that's one thing na hindi na masyadong nakikita ng tao na short-term siya eh, short-term sacrifice for long-term gains. As Sir Rex mentioned, may property ka at the end of it. Tapos masasama siya sa net worth mo. And one more thing that you need to consider din, pag bibili ka ng property is, before you get the property, check mo na rin right away kung ano ba yung potential rental rates dun sa location. Kasi sometimes, pag binili mo yung property, same yung price. Pero sa ibang location, mas maganda yung rental rates. Or kung kunyari, mas mura dito ng onte, pero hindi naman nagkakalayo ng price ng property, pero significantly lower yung rent na makukuha mo dito, then it might be better to go with this option. So in terms of present value naman, I mentioned earlier, ang hirap kasi i-compare na parang this month or this year, nag-abono ako ng 200,000 sa property ko. Tapos in 20 years, kumita ako ng 500,000 sa property ko. Hindi mo siya i-offset lang ng plus minus eh, kasi iba yung value ng money right now and money in the future. So you have to consider yung inflation, yung increase ng interests. And when I ran the numbers, actually maganda yung pinakamagandang option pa rin talaga to buy a property, considering na ako kung alternative is renting. So yun, short-term sacrifice lang din talaga when you buy your own house or home.
Thank you
So,
very
Thea, siguro
much.
dapat, Thea, nagte-trade tayo ng ano. Meron din akong
Ng notes.
IRR sheet. Alam mo yun, yung
Sir.
I have like the whole XIRR sheet for 20, 30 years. Pinoproject ko lahat yan, inflows and outflows, kompletong analysis.
Sir, ganun din, cash flows din. Tsaka pag kunyari, bumili ka ng property, tapos pinarent out mo, hinahanap ko din yung ano niya, yung rate of return niya. Sige, exchange tayo, sir.
So, sasali na lang daw po kaming lahat sa Google Drive ninyo, Sir Rex and Thea. Para add nyo na lang kami, please. No? Okay, so before we end our questions, I have one more question. This one is for all three of you, actually. Ito naman, syempre, nagawa na natin yung nakapag-invest na tayo sa property or real estate. Do you remember that moment na nag-click para sa'yo? That moment that you realized, I made the right choice in putting my money in this investment. I did the right thing by sacrificing my money and making this investment for myself. Do any of you remember that moment, and what was that moment for you? Let's start with Francis.
I guess I realized this was the right thing for me to do, or this is the right property for me nung napansin ko hindi na ako lumalabas ng bahay. And this was pre-pandemic. Dati kasi mahilig ako, alam mo yun, pag weekend, you look forward to going to the mall or like doing something outside. But when I got this property and na-realize ko, I can stay put pala sa bahay, di pala ako lakwatsera. it made me feel like, oh, this is home. And there are so many things that I can do at home. And I belong here. So, yun yung parang moment for me na it was a good choice. Kasi now, di ba, I can do things by myself here in the comforts of my home. And hindi ko pala kailangan, alam mo yun, gagastos ka sa labas. But kaya ko naman pala if only parang meron kang place for you. So parang sanctuary, ganun.
Tama. Lalo na ngayon with everything that's happening. I think that's what we're all realizing. And kaya rin nag-flourish ang Home Buddies because, we were able to help people beautify their sanctuaries as well. Thea, would you like to answer this question? Naalala mo ba yung moment and what was it for you?
Multiple moments sila. Pero ako kasi when I buy hindi lang properties, actually anything na big ticket item, I always run the numbers. Ako talaga math Gusto ko objective ako mag-decide. And I keep in touch with my 2 agents, yung 2 brokers ko, magkaibang property. Tapos yung pinakaunang kilig moment ko talaga, nung in-update ako ng unang property agent ko and she said, oh, nag-appreciate na yung condo mo by more than 100%. Wow. Say what? Say it again? Diba? Tapos yung second property, ito lang, just recently, kasi kakabili ko lang no October, 6 months later, nag-appreciate na yung Alviera property by 22%.
Wow!
And super nice investment talaga. Siguro malaking factor din talaga yung developers, maayos yung kinuha ko. Tsaka may plan talaga for the community. But I don't think meron kasi akong ibang asset or any form of investment na ganong kabilis, ganong kataas yung returns and hindi nagde-dip. Hindi ko nakikita na nagde-dip yung prices niya unless lang siguro if you sell it right away sa secondary market during the pandemic, but it holds its value. So that's the time na alam ko na I made the right choice.
Congratulations, by the way, Thea, sa 20 to 30% na yan. Sana ma-invite mo kami sa celebration mo eventually.
Sige, magpapakain ako.
Yay! Excited kami dyan. Finally, Sir Rex, can you please also tell us yung moment na yes, tama yung investment kong yun.
Ako very early because we run the numbers nga kami ni Thea, no?
Tama.
So, doon pa lang sa analysis, doon pa lang sa process of deciding. Once I decide, I know I made a good decision kaagad. Kasi, again, good developer, trusted brand, tapos the numbers work out. Doon pa lang, alam mo na, you made the deal and masarap na sa pakiramdam mo that you made that decision. Pero alam mo just to mention this, total, lahat naman tayo, and Frances also had great experience. Yung binili ko, 1 bedroom at 2 bedroom ng Avida San Lorenzo. Yan yung katapat ng Don Bosco, the school, and then the Don Bosco church, and then merong Walter Mart sa tabi. Alam niyo ba ang bili ko dyan? This was what? 2011, 2010? Ang bili ko 1 bedroom, 1.4 million. Ang bili ko ng studio, na rumirenta ngayon, 25,000 is only 1.2 million studio. Parking lang yun ngayon. Can you imagine that? Kaya gusto ko nga sabihin, balikan natin yung tanong kanina, eureka moment pala. Yung amortization ng bank, static yun Yun na yung binabayaran mo, hindi nagagalaw yun. Unless lumipad yung interest rate. Pero yung rentals na natatanggap ko, every year nag-escalate. Diba? Pangalawa, yung value ng property, yung 1.4, 1.1 million. Hindi ka makakabili ng parking ngayon sa Makati at 1.4 million, hindi ba? So, my value, my property has grown, the cash flow is going up. Pero yung bank amortization, parang hindi ko na iniinda dahil flatline na siya, di ba? Bumaba pa ang interest rates. Di ba? So, again, that's the reason why I feel good about that decision.
Parang naiyak ng konti si Francis dun sa presyo ng nung sinabi ni Sir Rex na yung parking, hindi ka rin makakabili ng parking ngayon. No, but thank you for sharing all of that. You know, it definitely inspires a lot of us as well, and it gives you that kind of push kapag medyo may konting doubts ka ng konti, because you do realize that these are good investments for you, especially if you've prepared for it, and yun talaga na figure out mo lahat, na plan mo lahat that will work best for your situation. Okay, so ngayon naman, meron tayong one final video question, and this is coming from someone via video. So let's all check this one out and see what she has to say.
Hi, I'm Isabella, and I have a question for Thea and Francis. As a millennial and planning to invest in real estate, what are some of your tips, and what should I expect or plan for when I start living independently? Thank you.
Thank you, Isabella. So I think this is a very popular question among the young ones today. So go ahead. Who would like to go first? Thea, yes?
I think Francis would also agree with me on this kasi same kami na nag-a-adulting ngayon. Siguro aside from the financial aspect, kasi it's a given na when you buy your property, no? Pero alam niyo yung responsibilities your parents used to take care of for you, ikaw na lahat yun ngayon. Yun yung hindi ako prepared eh. Nung umalis ako ng bahay na, ay oo nga pala, may nag-leak. Sino magpapaayos nito? Ako. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Paano ako kakain? It depends on me. Diba yung dati na pag-uwi mo ng bahay, wala ka nang iisipin pa, magpapahinga ka na lang. But when you're living alone, you also have to run the household na. Pati pag-vacuum, paglilinis, and all that. And, you know, having your own place is really fulfilling. It's liberating. But at the same time, may responsibilities na kasama.
Totoo yan, ano? So, you look around at your situation and say, sino ba, bakit nga ba ganito? Kasi hindi mo ginawa. Okay, thank you very much, Thea. Francis, please share your insights naman dito, your tips. What should they expect?
Yeah, it's the same with Thea, super same. Na when you get it, your home ownership journey doesn't stop at purchasing it, but you know, you have to furnish it. You have to buy, you pay your dues, your bills, diba? Yung bills mo, ilang bills pa ba yan? Tubig, kuryente, internet. And not just that, it's not just the cost of things, but also the cost of time. Kasi now, yun nga sabi ni Thea, uwi ka na lang before, may pagkain ka na. But now, you have to, kahit pagod ka na, kailangan pa magluto, diba? Pag gising mo sa umaga, you have to wake up a bit earlier kasi you have to prepare your food. And pag weekends mo, kung dati natutulog ka lang, diba? Ngayon, kailangan mo na isipin, kailangan ko maglinis, diba? So, those are things that also add up, and that's also time that you should be willing to commit. Pero it doesn't, we're not saying that to threaten you na, ay, mahirap. But it's more of, you know, when you're there, pag binato mo na yung sarili mo dyan, you will be, makaka-create ka ng system. Ma-realize mo suddenly na, pag makalat, ano kaya, saan ko ilalagay? Or ibibilin ka ng mga budol na that can help you, diba? Like, kung dati tumulis ka ngayon, may vacuum na, may robo-vac, mga ganyan. So, it's also fun. It's very exciting to discover how you can make it. Kasi, diba, yung mga parents din naman natin, how they were able to raise us, they also went through their adulting phase. And if they made it through that, kaya din natin yan.
And talagang you get to make your own choices, diba, this time. So everything that you probably have always wanted to do differently, magagawa mo na ngayon. So congratulations to the millennials who are going to be independent, and we hope you enjoy that ride. Thank you very much to all of our audience members for their questions. We have many more on the page, but we only have time to discuss a few. But hopefully you guys can answer each other and help each other out also sa Facebook page natin. And thank you also to our panelists. Grabe, ang ganda ng mga sagot natin today. Ang dami nating natutunan. Yes, ayun, myself also, of course, our viewers, and from each other as well. I'm sure you've learned from each other too. So thank you very much. But now we are sliding into the highlight of today's show, and we call this segment Home Possible. All right, Home Possible, our segment for today, the topic for today as well, the theme for today. But this time, what's going to happen is we're going to give each of our panelists or our wonderful guests solo screen time to give us their key takeaways from everything that we've discussed here today. Kasi ang dami nilang mga nasa soundbites, ang dami nilang mga quotable quotes na kailangan natin ma-digest talaga. So we will give them some time to share each one with us. So let's begin with Thea first. Go ahead, Thea.
Right. So for the first one, as mentioned earlier, real estate investing is a long-term commitment. So make sure that, it is aligned with your future plans. I don't want you to go get a property tapos halfway through the process, di ba, magka-buyer's remorse kayo just because you did not prepare for it or you did not plan well enough. Next, siguro is, not all properties are created equal. You have to do your research. I love to do my research so that I know which questions to ask to the agent. Kasi kung kunyari, dediretso ako sa agent, yes, he or she can help me out. Pero baka meron pala akong gustong malaman pa na hindi ko alam na dapat palang tanongin because hindi ako nakapag-prepare to meet with the agent. And yun naman yung mga purpose ng mga property specialists, mga brokers and agents to help you find the right property for you. And last is, as I've mentioned just recently, na having your own property is not only a very exciting and liberating time in your life, pero aside from that independence, it would also teach you the value of money. You'd be more diligent with your finances because you made that commitment. And along that, you also develop a healthier relationship with money.
Thank you very much, Thea, for sharing that with us. We move on to our takeaways from Francis this time. Francis?
Ayan, sa mga kapitbahay ko and also fellow millennials who are, thinking impossible ata sa panahon na to na magkabahay ako. Home Possible lets you know that it is possible and it's all, sometimes, kung sila Thea and si Sir Rex medyo on the number side, ako sa lakas ng loob lang yung share ko sa inyo. And instead of asking yourself if you're ready, the mere fact that you're asking if gusto ko nang nagtitingin ka na kung saan mo gustong tumira, di ba? Then it kind of means you are ready, you're on the way there. And the next question you have to ask yourself is, how bad do you want it? Kasi how bad do you want it or how bad do I want it? That burning desire that will light up your path to put you where you want to be. So that's my first parang tip. The next one is, to those who already have their homes, my tip is also to design with intention. Minsan parang nalulungkot tayo, ang liit ng bahay ko, pero it's not about the size also eh. Sometimes, syempre, bigger is better, pero if ito lang yung kaya natin, should we be sad? Dapat nga matawa tayo kasi, afford natin magkabahay. Pero what you make of it, of your space, how you design it, diba? As long as you design with intention, everything that you buy starts with a why, diba? It's never too small, and it's never too yan lang. Ano siya? Ito yung bahay ko. So, yan siya. And then the last that I want to share is, ito talaga yung lakas ng loob. Ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen, diba? Di ka naman mapapahamak. Pwedeng mapahiya ka. Pwedeng mag-start over ka. Pwedeng maraming mawala sa'yo. Pero at the end of the day, you still have yourself. You still have your family with you. Di ka na naman nila iiwan eh. So, kakayanin mo yan. So, if you think of, pag alam mo na hanggang dun lang yung pwedeng mangyari, yung fear mo hanggang dun lang din, then tapang can push you to take that step to get your own home. So, that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Francis. Yan, so palakasan lang talaga din ng loob minsan na dun yung labanan, di ba? Thank you, Francis. And finally, Sir Rex, yes, please, your takeaways for today.
For me, my advice, start early. Have the discipline to live responsibly for your future abundance. No? Again, choose wise investments. That's my number 2. Yields are probably important, but they're not the end all and be all of investments. You have to think about risks. You have to think about your future options. Study and evaluate your choices. Very important for us to look at, like especially in the investment on real estate, focus not only on yung tinatawag nating materials, yung location. Think about the living experience. Because at the end of the day, that will determine if you made the right choice or not. Eh. Masaya ka ba dun sa naging choice mo? At happy ka ba sa magiging buhay mo in that living space? And lastly, and most importantly actually, choose a reliable developer, again, with a trusted brand. Kasi alam nyo po, maraming nagkakamali, and sometimes because this is a big ticket item, big decision, dun ka pa magkakamali. As I've said, hindi madaling burahin, hindi pwedeng isole kaagad-agad or ganun kadali. So you will have to carry the burden of that decision. So always trust a great brand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir Rex. Thank you to all three of you for the great wisdom that we have you've shared here today, and we are just taking from all of you. Maraming salamat. And you know what, sa dami ng information na share natin today, I'm sure yung mga viewers natin, they are asking for more, they want more. But of course, we only have so much time to discuss here today. If you guys have any other outlets or other platforms where they can find you and they can learn more from you, please go ahead and share them with us. Let's start with Francis. Francis, maybe you can share where else our viewers can find you. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was looking at my phone kasi I was looking at the kapitbahays who are saying hi to me. Hello to the kapitbahays. Thank you so much for watching. And to those who are not yet part of HomeBuddies, you can join us in Facebook. It's facebook.com/group/HomeBuddiesPH. And if you want to learn non-professional design from me, like yung unti-unti na kung ano lang yung kaya ko, I have mga adulting tips and home tips over at my Instagram. It's instagram.com/nobihome. So nobi.home, Nobi.home.
Wow, thank you very much. Gusto ko yung non-professional talaga. No, but I'm sure that's even more relatable, di ba? Mas
Budol lang kaya kong i-share.
Budol-budol. Bubudol lang din pala tayo. Okay, thank you, Francis. How about you, Thea? Go ahead. Where can we find you and learn more from you?
So I have a YouTube channel and Instagram account where I create personal finance-related content and mga adulting 101s para sa mga titos and titas out there. That's at Thea Sy Bautista. I also have a Facebook page, Tita Talks PH. Every day may mga tita questions doon and anonymous questions to help each other out.
Titahan. Thank you very much, Thea. And Sir Rex, where may we find you?
Siguro, first of all, gusto ko muna magpasalamat. You know, it's an honor and a privilege to be with the three of you ladies. No, this is quite an experience for me. Medyo bumata ako ng 10 years dahil sa session na ito. Anyway, we're Rampver Financials. We're a full services financial distribution firm. We have, we have a channel in Facebook. We have Instagram as well. Pero para dun sa mga talagang naghahanap ng videos, again, also on personal finance, options on investments, and personal growth and development. No? Watch us at Rampver Financials on YouTube. Madalas po ako doon, but I'm also joined by other colleagues in our company. Hope to see you there.
Thank you. There you go. So we hope that you guys, out to our viewers, we hope that you can find them online or wherever so that you can learn even more from them. Thank you so much to our panelists, our experts. Palakpakan naman po natin sila. Thank you. We appreciate the time that you guys have, taken out, not just to help our viewers, but also to share yung insight ninyo, experiences ninyo para lahat tayo matuto together. And thank you for making our Saturday fruitful and also productive. Thank you. And we hope to see you guys again soon. Thank you, Thea, Francis, and Sir Rex. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So, wow, it's been such a great show. And I know you guys are definitely enjoying as well. But before we say goodbye, it's time for us to take a moment to just quickly summarize yung mga key takeaway from our show. So, let's check them out. We have them on screen so that you can better remember them as well. So from Ms. Thea Sy Bautista, she mentioned, make sure that your property acquisition is aligned with your medium to your long-term plans. Also, she says that not all properties are created equal. So make sure you do your research, you ask your questions before you invest. So ito talaga yung, I think, pinaka-major points na na-share ni Thea with us. Make sure you have all the information bago tayo gumawa ng mga big decisions, syempre. And finally, getting your first property feels exciting and liberating, but at the same time, you develop a better relationship with money, which is also a very positive way of looking at investment or investing. So eventually, if you do make an investment, you'll actually learn how to handle your money better after, hopefully. Thank you to Thea. Moving on now to our takeaways from our next panelist. Let's check it out. All right. So from Frances Cabatuando, again, joining us here today, she said, instead of asking if you're ready, please ask yourself, how bad do I want it? So that burning desire will help light your path as you go. And she also says, when it comes to design, which of course can always help us, design with intention, because your spaces are never too small when you design with intention. And I think this is something that is very relevant sa atin mga Filipino, because we do tend to want bigger. We think bigger is better. We think more is better. But once you actually decide to just be move with intention, create your space with intention, mas magaganda yung ating space. And I think we're going to love it more. Also, she says, what's the worst that can happen? So ask yourself this question while you're going through your adventure of investing, and you will always find the strength to continue. Finally, imagine yourself at the end. Imagine it so hard that it starts to look real and your mind won't know the difference. So ito rin yung ating law of attraction, or visualizing our future. Thank you to Francis for sharing that. So Rex Mendoza, he says, ang ganda nito. Ito talaga, it's hard to hear, but it's actually very, very important. Start early and also have the discipline that will ensure future independence and abundance. So I think nahihirapan tayo usually with this one, but this is the most important one. Choose your wise investments. Yield and earnings are not the only considerations. Risk and having future options are as important. Also, study and evaluate choices as well. Colorful brochures do not add up to a great living and investment experience, which echoes what Thea mentioned also earlier. Make sure that you have all the right information, ask the right questions, so that you have everything before you make that big decision for yourself. And finally, ito rin, napaka-importante, choose a reliable developer with a trusted brand, para when you do make your big investment, you put in all of your hard-earned money, you know that it will not go to waste. In fact, it can actually even bring you forward, because you can earn, your property can appreciate in the future and work for you. Yay! So thank you very much to our panelists. Ang ganda ng mga takeaways natin. We hope na you are able to screen cap them or screenshot or take them down para maalala natin. Or if not, you can always go back to this video on the Facebook page and rewatch and review, so that we can continuously learn. So thank you very much to everyone. That officially ends our broadcast. We would like to thank Avida for giving us this platform so that that we can learn together. And also, I'd like to remind everyone of Avida's exclusive deals and perks that are available today only. So get as much as 280,000 pesos in your savings, as well as you can take home a premium home item. Hindi ko alam bakit mas excited ako sa premium home item. So you can take home a premium home item to start your Avida living. You can choose between a microwave, air purifier, smart TV, or Dyson Tower fan when you reserve an Avida property. And once again, you have to scan the QR code sa ating chat box to sign up, and also you can learn more about these perks and deals through our very helpful property specialists. Please maximize our property specialists so that you can learn more, and also any questions you guys have, you go to them with it. Today, we have all made it home possible with Avida. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you to Avida. And as a final note for tonight, we'd like to take this moment to say that, despite the circumstances that surround us as young professionals, with the pandemic still ongoing, it's really, really inspiring to see that we are still reaching for our goals. We're still going for our dreams, everything that we want out of life. There is hope, and we've just shown you a way to reach for those dreams. In the face of such uncertainty, our generation leads the way into the future. So this is empowering all the millennials out there to make the right decisions for themselves. Thank you so much to everyone. I hope you had as much fun as I did and as the panelists did. We hope to see you guys again soon. This has been Sarah Hernandez, and I wish you all a very pleasant evening.